I have some vocabulary for you that's going to blow your mind. Well, I say that, and this is why I say that you are highly proficient if you know these words. But I think that you are very knowledgeable when it comes to vocabulary, so some of them you may be familiar with. But if you are someone who enjoys building your vocabulary, please subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. That way I can become your teacher. My name is Wes. The channel is Interactive English. It's all about trying to help you reach your fluency goals. So let's just jump right into it with our first question. Which word means to clear from blame or suspicion? This is right now at the beginning, it's a multiple choice. So perhaps this is going to be a little easier and we're going to ease our way into this and it's going to get a little more challenging. Now, I say that these are advanced words. They're going to blow your mind. That means that you're not going to use them in just everyday conversation. You're not going to hear them all the time. These are words that are more specific, more descriptive, more precise. But they can still come in handy, and it's always great to improve your listening and reading comprehension. So the meaning of this word, to clear from blame or suspicion. Condemn, vindicate, reprimand, or discredit. I see some excellent answers. I think you guys, you're on top of this, all right? Maybe you're going to blow my mind. To vindicate is the word that we're looking for. That is the correct answer. So that means to clear from blame or suspicion. To help give you a little more context, I have some example sentences down there for you. New evidence vindicated the accused, or he felt vindicated by the court's decision. And finally, her success vindicated her bold choices. So I'm going to give you some example sentences as we go through this. Hopefully that'll give you a better understanding as to how the word is used in context. And if you would like to get these lesson notes that you see right next to me here, click on the link down in the description, join my email community, and you can access these notes. If you're already a part of our lovely, amazing community, I have gone ahead and sent them to you. So the next question. What do you think? Again, multiple choice. Which word means carefully considering all circumstances before acting? So before you do something, of course, you're going to consider all circumstances. And which word which word means that? So is it impulsive, circumspect, frivolous, or brazen? The fact that it's multiple choice right now makes it a little easier, because if you do know some of the other words, you can, go through a process of elimination. But which of these words means carefully considering all circumstances before acting? So in this case, once again, it's not trick answer, but some of you, all right, wow, perfect. B, once again, B, the correct answer. You guys are blowing my mind. Circumspect. So it means carefully considering all circumstances before acting. Here are some example sentences. I know it's a little small, so I'll go ahead and read it for you. She was circumspect in choosing her words, or his circumspect approach helped avoid a disaster. And finally, always be circumspect when making big decisions. It is true. Now, again, this is not a word that you're going to turn on the TV and you're going to hear someone using. However, you still may come across it, and to further bolster that argument that this is a word you may come across, I have some news headlines for you, again, giving you a little more context, and all of these headlines have the word circumspect. For example, up here, time to be circumspect about Trump's global trade warnings, says Kearney Chairman Bob Willen. And then finally, the next one, barristers must be circumspect in exercising free speech. And then down below, journalists told to be circumspect in reporting. So this is a word that you may come across reading the news or watching a TV show. It definitely is a more advanced word, but I think it's good to get a variety, even if you really want to be descriptive or want to learn specific words. It's good to know them. And then if you feel comfortable, you could try to use them in conversation if they are applicable and they're relevant to what you're trying to convey. What do you think about this one? Which of the following means showing strong feeling, forceful, passionate, intense? Which of these words? And I found this picture of this cat right here, and it just, yeah, that look was very intense, and the cat looked like it had that just strong feeling. So what is the correct answer? Vehement, tepid, aloof, or mellow? Once again, maybe you can go through a process of elimination. For example, mellow is really kind of the opposite. Like you're kind of relaxed and calm. So I've just got to tell you, it's not D. The answer, wow, everybody, yeah, you guys are rocking this. Perfect. Vehement, A, is the correct answer, showing strong feeling, forceful, passionate, intense. Now, one thing, well, let me get to the example sentences, and then I'll tell you where I'm going with this. He gave a vehement denial. All right, yeah, it wasn't me. It was a vehement denial, very passionate. Or she was vehement. She was a vehement supporter of reform. All right, that strong feeling. Or finally, the protester spoke vehemently about the issue. And that's what I wanted to point out, because this right here, vehement, we're using it as an adjective, but often you may come across this word as an adverb, as far as in vehemently, and that ly ending. Somebody may speak vehemently or act vehemently. So that's one thing I wanted to point out with this word in particular, as an adjective or as an adverb. And yeah, I like these. I try to find these pictures of animals every now and then, because it does, I think it makes the lessons a bit more engaging. What do you think? Which of the following means brief and to the point? So I think this is well, in my opinion, I feel like it's a good word to know, because often you may talk about this meaning and you want someone to be brief and to the point, or you're trying to write something or convey a message that is brief and to the point. And in that case, you would want the message to be mundane, succinct, verbose, or mellifluous. What do you think? Brief and to the point. I hope in this case that you said, and I think many of you did, succinct, expressed in few words, concise. So in general, I think this word has more of a positive connotation, because I think most of the time we use it in a context in which fewer, less is better. All right, fewer words, more concise, that's generally a good thing. He gave a succinct explanation of the problem, or her writing style is clear and succinct. This is a collocation. You may use it with those two words, clear and succinct. Perfect. Good phrase to use. And keep your answer succinct and focused. So those are some more examples using this word in context. If you knew some of these words already, that's perfect. And of course, this is a quiz lesson, so I want you to participate. I want you to write your answers in the chat or in the comments. I love seeing people participate in these lessons. So I thought it would be fun. We just went over 4 words to go ahead and look at the frequency and see how often they're used and compare the two. So this is from Ngram Viewer. If you have a word or phrase or a couple of words or phrases and you want to know, well, which one do most people use? This is a way to very quickly get a snapshot, because they put it on a graph, as to which words are more often used. So as you can see, they're very close, but in this case, you're going to come across succinct and vehement more often than you would come across vindicate or circumspect. And to me, that's not surprising at all. I think those words are absolutely more commonly used. Vindicate, I often feel like it's used in the context of somebody, being accused of something, or in a courtroom setting, is when you may end up coming across that word. So let's switch gears. I gave you some multiple choice questions. Now let's make it a little more difficult. I'm going to give you a sentence with the missing word, and I'm also going to give you the meaning. And I want you to see if you can think of the advanced word, the word that is going to blow your mind. And write it in the comments, write it in the chat. So the first one, he gave a apology that seemed rehearsed. So the meaning is carried out without real interest, feeling, or effort. I will be very impressed if you get this, because I feel like in this case, many native speakers would find this very challenging. I would find this challenging, just giving this one sentence plus the meaning. This is a word that is definitely more advanced. It's one that you may come across from time to time. However, this is the one thing I want to point out maybe is that in this example, he gave a apology that seemed rehearsed. So in this case, it's not really a good thing. We're talking about an apology. Oh, it seemed rehearsed. Maybe they didn't mean it. There wasn't really any effort or feeling put into it. And therefore, you could say it was perfunctory. He gave a perfunctory apology that seemed rehearsed. So the meaning of perfunctory is carried out with any real interest, feeling, or effort. And well done. All right, I saw a couple answers in there. Perfect. Perfunctory. To give you a little more context, because some of you may be thinking, well, I've never come across this word before. Here are some example sentences. He gave a perfunctory nod and walked away. Again, without maybe real interest. The cleaning was done in a perfunctory manner. Okay, maybe no effort was really put into it. Or her smile was perfunctory, lacking real warmth. Once again, in that last sentence, it is used in more of a negative way. Perfunctory. What do you think? Oh, I thought this was a good meme as far as giving you another example with this word. Of bonus points if you can tell me the movie. Okay? Life is like a box of chocolates. Okay? And then down here, a cheap, thoughtless, perfunctory gift that nobody ever asked for. Now, of course, life is a very precious gift, but I thought this was funny, mostly thinking about this box of chocolates that you may give as a gift to someone, or maybe you get it as a gift, and just comparing it and saying it is a perfunctory gift that, well, nobody ever asked for. I thought this was a little humorous. So let's see. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering about the movie, I said bonus points. This is, of course, from the movie Forrest Gump. That is a picture of Tom Hanks playing Forrest Gump. Well done, Lolly. Excellent. Here's the next one. I think this one is easier, and this is a word that is more commonly used, and I think you'll realize that once I give you the answer, but let's see if you can get it. His response was, revealing more than he intended. So the meaning of this word, revealing or indicative of something that is not explicitly stated. So you could say it is, you're revealing this information, even though you're not explicitly saying it, and you could say it is, A lot of times you're going to use this as a predicate adjective, and it's going to follow the verb to be. That, oh, this is, his actions were, his response was, Again, I think this is a word that you've certainly heard of, and maybe it is one that you even use. So when talking, it's hard to perhaps come up with it with just this limited information that I'm giving you. But if we want to say something is revealing, it's not explicitly stated, you could say that it is telling. His response was telling, revealing more than he intended. So if something is telling, in a way, it tells us information, even though it's not directly said to us. Maybe it's basically the way somebody is acting or behaving, and you could say that it is telling. So this is a useful adjective. Of course, most of the time, people, when you see the word tell, you think of the verb to tell someone something. And in this case, you could think about using it in the continuous tense, like listen to, I am telling you something right now. But in this case, we're using it as an adjective. So here are some example sentences. Her silence was telling. Okay, that gives us more information because she's silent and it tells us something. Or the hesitation in his voice was telling. If somebody hesitates, well, something's wrong, and maybe it gives us that it reveals some information. It's telling. And then finally, it was a telling sign that something was wrong. So once again, this is, I think, a useful adjective if you want to say something is telling and it's revealing some information. What do you think about this next one? They found themselves in a situation with no easy solution. So the meaning, exposed or involving danger, or dangerous, perilous, risky, those are all synonyms if you want it, dangerous, perilous, risky. But I will say that I feel like a common collocation, you might talk about a situation that you are in. And you may say, I am in a situation. They found themselves in a situation with no easy solution. Exposed to or involving danger, dangerous, perilous, risky. I like the guess. Somebody mentioned dire, a dire situation, and that I think is a good guess. That's not the word that we're looking for. I feel dire is actually a stronger word than the one that I am going to share with you, but that is a really good guess. So, of course, it is a dangerous situation, and this word, I guess, well, let me give you the answer, and then I'll give you a little more context. All right, the answer. Well done, Vicky, Gustav. Precarious, a precarious situation. So. Precarious situation, it is like, okay, there is some danger. It's like, maybe a little complex as well. I feel like in this case, dire would be a stronger word if you wanted to emphasize something and say it's a dire situation. We have major problems. But if you you're in a precarious situation, it is, involving some danger or you're exposed. And I think that is a key word, exposed to danger. For example, here are some example sentences. The ladder looked precarious. Okay, it didn't look very safe. It was dangerous. Or their financial position is precarious. They're exposed to some risk or danger. And finally, she was in a precarious state of health. So this is, I feel like, a useful word, good word to know, descriptive word, precarious. Okay. I saw this. I thought it was funny. I had to share it with you. So this is a headline, kind of just like a joking article. I think it was from BuzzFeed. And basically it was like 32 kids who supposedly found themselves in a very precarious situation. And I didn't want to go through and show you all the pictures. I just thought the first one was funny. And it says, first, there's this poor kid in a less than stellar view. So yes, I could say she's on that bike. She is in a precarious situation, just sitting there. And I thought that was humorous, so I wanted to share it with you. How about this? Despite the pressure, she remained and handled the situation with grace, having or showing calmness in a crisis. Of course, I think overwhelmingly, people are going to use an adjective like calm. And this is a bit of a synonym. It is a more advanced word. It's not as commonly used. You could put in the word calm. Despite the pressure, she remained calm and handled the situation with grace. Very common. But there are other words that we could put in there, synonyms for the word calm. So I feel like there may be more than one response that could be put into this sentence. And it makes sense, it's correct. But the meaning of this word, having or showing calmness in a crisis. Composed is another good word. That would work. That's not the word that I'm looking for. So again, composed, I feel like is another commonly used word, and I think a great word to know, and you should know it. But this is not grounded or adamant. In this case, let me give you another synonym. You could say it's not as commonly used, but just one to just be aware of. Unflappable. Despite the pressure, she remained unflappable and handled the situation with grace, having or showing, which means having or showing calmness in a crisis. And you would say someone is unflappable. So here are some example sentences. Again, I want to give you a little more context. If you're looking at this word and you're thinking, I've never heard anybody use the word unflappable. Again, that doesn't mean that you're going to hear somebody use it tomorrow or the next day. These are advanced words. Remember, I'm just trying to blow your mind. So even when the students got rowdy, the teacher was unflappable and remained calm. Or her unflappable demeanor impressed the interviewers. Somebody was unflappable. Or he remained unflappable even after the shocking news. And I feel like even though this adjective is not the most commonly used word, I feel like that is kind of a verb adjective collocation, to remain unflappable, or saying somebody remained unflappable in some very, dire situation, precarious situation. And they stayed calm and they remained unflappable. What do you think? Oh, we just did 4 more words. So I wanted to go back to Ngram Viewer, but I wanted to point out a flaw. And I wanted to make you aware of this because Ngram Viewer is not perfect. It's not going to tell you all the information that you may need. So if we put in these words, I do think that the order of usage as to which ones are more commonly used, telling. I definitely think that's most commonly used. And then you see precarious, perfunctory, and then unflappable. The one thing that you might be looking at and saying, wait, why is telling used so much more often? Because when you use Ngram Viewer, it's not differentiating between parts of speech. So we were talking about telling as an adjective, that you're revealing information. Ngram Viewer is putting together all forms of telling, even as a verb in the continuous tense. Like, I am telling you something. And they're going to count that, which is why it's not always going to work. So just something to keep in mind. I wanted to point this out. If you were to use Ngram Viewer for this and you see the results are very skewed because it's using telling in as another part of speech. So let's make it even more difficult. And let's see. You can really practice your typing skills because this time I'm giving you the word and I want you to tell me the meaning. So what is the meaning of this word? I will go ahead and read these example sentences down below to give you some context. And I just want you to write down the meaning of the word. So she made a cogent argument for her case. His explanation was both cogent and thorough. And then finally, the lawyer presented a cogent summary. So how would you define this word, cogent? I think looking at the sentences, this is another good exercise when it comes to learning a language, is putting words and phrases into context and coming up with what you think might the meaning would be. So think about how it's used in these sentences. A cogent argument, or the explanation was cogent, or a cogent summary. So convincing is, I think you're on the right track, but not the word that I would probably use, or even persuasive. Somebody had mentioned clear. I think that is better, even though actually, no, I feel like convincing, no, it works. I'm trying to think because I haven't looked at it as well as for what the exact meaning. I think all of you are right. Convincing, persuasive, clear, I think that would work. I had forgot what I had put as the meaning because I had just got this from the dictionary of an argument or case. Yeah, clear, logical, and convincing. A cogent summary, a cogent argument. When I was hesitating on that, because I feel like in my view, when I was thinking of the word cogent, the first thing that comes to my mind is clear. That it's clear, it's easy to understand, In that case, like clear and logical. But as you can see, convincing up there is also part of the meaning as well. All right, so maybe this was not as difficult as I thought it would be for you guys. Probably, I hope maybe the sentences help. So, ephemeral. What do you think? Again, this is not a word that, it's not like I go out and use this word all the time. But let me give you some examples. The beauty of the sunset was ephemeral. Fame can be ephemeral. This is a good example sentence to try to put the meaning together. Or they enjoyed the ephemeral moments of spring. What do you think this means if you're describing? So think about what the sentences are describing. Sunset, ephemeral. Fame can be ephemeral. Or these moments of spring. So because of that, hopefully, and I saw, excellent, some great answers, not lasting long, fleeting, I love that word, that's a great word, temporary, perfect. So if you want a short-lived, well, excellent. I like your guys' meaning. I like all of these, even more than the dictionaries. Lasting for a very short time. And I mentioned fame as a good example, and you hear that expression, somebody has their 15 minutes of fame. Something happens, and all of a sudden the spotlight is on this person. They have their 15 minutes of fame, but it's ephemeral, and it's forgotten about after that. And it's temporary. It's not lasting for a very long time. So once again, I feel like in most of these situations, again, instead of using this word, people may use a phrase like short-lived or fleeting or just not doesn't last long. And those are phrases that end up being more commonly used, but still, this is all about building your vocabulary. How about this? Ubiquitous. What do you think it means? This is actually a word that I have previously talked about in at least one other vocabulary lesson, quite possibly two other vocabulary lessons if you are an avid viewer of interactive English. Ubiquitous. Let me read the sentences for you. Nowadays, smartphones have become ubiquitous. Very true. Her laughter was as ubiquitous as her optimism. And finally, social media is ubiquitous in today's society. So if you want to describe something, and I think good examples would be like social media or smartphones, because everyone has them or everyone's using it and they're on it all the time, because just to use some of your meanings, it is everywhere. It is commonplace. It is all over. It is ubiquitous. Present, appearing, or found everywhere. That is the meaning of this word. And once again, it is a more advanced word, but still one that I think you actually may come across this word from time to time. So it's good to know, especially for your comprehension. Don't feel like you need to go out and just, okay, let me go out and use this word and try to comment and say, well, McDonald's is ubiquitous. But again, if it comes up in conversation, it is useful. I thought this was funny. Notice how you hear the word ubiquitous being used everywhere. So again, trying to be funny that the meaning is everywhere, even though it is not a word that, of course, is being used everywhere. It is a more descriptive, precise word that you can still use if you want to describe something as ubiquitous. What do you think? Candor. What is the meaning of candor? She spoke with candor about her experiences, or his candor earned him respect. I appreciate your candor on this matter. What do you think? The meaning, and hopefully, again, you can use those sentences to kind of come up with the meaning, putting it in a context. I like this activity when it comes to building your vocabulary, and this is another way to test those skills and really get you thinking. It's a thinking activity. So candor, somebody speaks with candor, or again, it's a positive, using it in a positive way. And yes, perfect. Frank, open, honest. Those are all great synonyms. The quality of being honest and telling the truth. Candor. Keep in mind, candor is a noun. Often, often, it's still another advanced adjective. Sometimes, I'll say sometimes instead of often. Instead of using it as a noun, you may hear people use it as an adjective to describe someone who is being honest, who is being frank, and in that case, you could say they are candid. So just keep in mind candid as the adjective or candor as the noun. Once again, I wanted to give you some context, and I'll be honest. I was surprised with this, not with ubiquitous. So just comparing those, there is absolutely a difference as to which of these four words is more commonly used. Ubiquitous, apparently it is everywhere, especially compared to these other words. I was personally surprised that ephemeral was next. I thought cogent would be more commonly used. That's just me. As far as some of those collocations, like a cogent argument or a cogent summary, I feel like that is an adjective that's sometimes used to describe different nouns. And candor as a noun, I guess it doesn't surprise me, but like I said, a lot of times instead of somebody saying like, oh, I appreciate your candor, I might just use it as an adjective and say, oh, I appreciate it. You were very candid about what happened. Instead of saying honest, I'll say candid as an adjective. So here are a list of these words, and just to use them quickly, I know building your vocabulary can be a little daunting, and maybe you feel like you're in a precarious situation. I hope not, but if that is the case, I hope that you remain unflappable and you are calm, because you can watch more of my video lessons to get a cogent summary of different words and phrases and how they're used, because I am vehement about helping you build your vocabulary. And I hope that my passion comes across, and I hope that it's telling. Because some of these words that I teach you, some of them are ubiquitous and you can really use them and they are common, and others like these, maybe they're not as ubiquitous, but they're still good to know because it's all about improving your skills, improving your listening and reading comprehension, and just building your vocabulary a little bit at a time. So if this lesson, if these words just blew your mind, then let me know. You can hit that like button or write to me in the comments. I always love hearing from you, but I really appreciate you being here with me today. As always, I hope that you learned something new. And again, if you did, you can let me know by hitting that like button. And if you want to get these lessons, check out that link down below in the description. But thank you so much for being here. For the members, Vicky, Gustav, Lolly, great to see you all. Let's see who else. Ahmed, Julia, Rexy. Thank you guys for participating in the lesson. That is what it's all about. It's interactive English. That's what I want you to do when it comes to these lessons. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you very soon for another lesson in the